The views and opinions expressed in the Golden Boot podcast are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Golden Boot podcast as a whole.
Y'all ready to get rolling? Quiet on the set. Hey, welcome back. Another episode of HBCU. It's your boy Pough. I got my man D2 in the back. I'm gonna get him up in a minute. But first, man, how y'all doing tonight? Hope everybody's doing well. Living your best life. It was a great weekend of I say it was a great weekend. HBCU football had a lot of bumps and bruises, especially on the D1 side. D2 side was a lot of excitement. There's a lot of excitement. We're gonna talk about that tonight. Man, I gotta tell y'all a story. Y'all know I like the story. Tell y'all stories. Listen, so y'all know I coach Dylan team, help coach his team. I've been coaching all this time. I ain't had a whistle. I just like when the play over, the other coaches blow their whistle. I yell at the kids, whistle. I bought a whistle. I done went crazy with the whistle. I was watching football this weekend. Every game I was watching, I was blowing the whistle. Brrr. Hey, touchdown. Brrr. Hey, he holding. I even started doing that to kid. Brrr. Hey, bring me something to drink. Brrr. Hey, what y'all making all that noise for? Yeah, I was tripping. But good to have y'all with us tonight. As we always say, thank you for watching. You can be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that. If you are enjoying the content, do us a favor. Subscribe, like, share, super chat. Help us out. Help us to grow. But without further ado, man, let's go ahead and get this thing started. But first, y'all know what we got to do. Give a quick shout out to our sponsors over at BetOnline. BetOnline.ag. We'll be back in 1 minute. BetOnline.ag is your number one source for all your sports information, stats, news, and scores. Get the latest odds, lines, and player injury reports for this year's NBA and NHL playoffs. BetOnline is always your sports information headquarters. This season, we have you covered for all your sports wagering needs. We have everything from NBA, NFL, MLB, and NHL to golf, tennis, UFC, and boxing. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info, including live betting options and your favorite casino and card games that you can play right from your home. Head on over to betonline.ag today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Be sure to use the promo code BLEAV to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. Hey, we had to bring them back, especially we're going to talk some D2 football, some D2 HBC football, and we're going to talk about them Ski Tigers, them Crimson Pipers. Welcome back, our guy, Mr. D2H2 football himself. What's good with you, my boy?
What's going on, man? Glad to be here. Appreciate you for having me.
Hold on. Hey, hold on. I got to get you right, baby. But man, it's good to see your face, man.
Man, I know, man. Hey, I'm glad to even just be around here this football season. For a minute, your boy thought I was just gonna miss the whole season, but God is good, man.
Hey, amen to that. Amen to that. I ain't gonna get into your business, but I'll just say I was praying for you, and I'm glad you're here, my boy.
Man, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Listen, I told the story last week.
Okay.
I went to the A&M Lane game.
Okay.
Good game. As they were going through announcing scores around the SWAC. The loudest chill said, in Montgomery, Miles 21, Alabama State 17, with about a minute left in the fourth quarter. That it erupted. That place erupted. I was like, woo. Hey, I was like, I thought I was petty. Them people petty. Yeah, man.
Yeah, that was a good one. You know, I told them folks all summer though, so they can't say they weren't more. I told them folks all summer by 3. I was off by a point, but I told them all summer that Miles was gonna get them.
You did. We're gonna get into a little bit more about Miles and stuff later on. Matter of fact, hold on, let me do this. I'm gonna send you what I'm looking at, what we, you know what I'm saying, kind of our rundown. Because we're gonna talk some of this D1. It was a bad weekend for D1 football for a lot of people. The MEAC went 0-6. The SWAC got beat like a drum in a lot of these FBS matchups.
Yeah.
And it was just and then it was a game that I know you were watching. Well, we escaped by 1. Well, I say we, the SWAC escaped by 1.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Definitely escaped.
Yeah, so I just put in the sent to you in DM what we're gonna right now. But man, first things first, man. I do want to talk about this just because it popped up, and I was thinking to myself, ain't no way. I don't know, and I'm gonna get your feel on it. Okay. It's been rumored Ray Lewis is a possible replacement for Buddy Pough at South Carolina State.
Man, you know, a couple of guys in the, you know, that I host the SWAC talk with, they mentioned that. I will say for a quick moment, back when Morehouse was looking for a coach, Ray Lewis' name came up, and without me, you know, just going off the emotion for a second, I was like, yeah, man, you know, get Ray Lewis to Morehouse. Then I thought about, I will say shout out Stephen Gaither at HBCU game day. A couple of them guys and a couple of Morehouse alum, they hit me up. They said, now, bro, you know, we like you, but you don't say that, dog. Like, no, you know, and then they reminded me about Ray Lewis in Atlanta. Then they walked me off of that.
Boy, I forgot about I wouldn't even put them two together, but yeah.
They walked me all the way back off of that. And you know, I've said publicly, like, yeah, no. When you start talking about South Carolina State, you know, it hadn't been long ago that the talk was like how the talk is around Mississippi Valley about South Carolina State. I mean, Mississippi Valley should go back D2. There was some talk around South Carolina State going back D2. Now we know that now, you know, the people had accused them of misappropriating funds, and now they coming back and saying, you know what, every cent was there, every dime was there. And it seemed like, you know, hey, they might be back on the trend upward. I think for our universities, we got to ask ourselves, what is it that we want to do? You know what I'm saying? Like, bringing in coaches, that's cool. You know, whatever. You know, we've seen the glitz and glam, but Ray Lewis is not Deion Sanders. I don't know if that would be like something they would want to recreate. But all I'm saying is South Carolina State is a solid school. There are a lot of quality FCS coaches that have good quality FCS experience. I mean, I haven't heard them talk about South Carolina State being a school that want to go FBS, you know, or even have the ability to go FBS. You know, I think that's a pipe dream at this moment. But I think if I'm South Carolina State, I'm looking for somebody with a proven record, you know, can be a younger coordinator in the FCS. Like, there are just too many quality coaches that can come in. They know how to recruit on that level. They already understand what it takes and can come in with a likable personality and come in and continue to win for them. Like, you know, they don't have to go out and get a Ray Lewis, but if they do, you know, more power to them.
Yeah. I'm gonna be, and I cut out, so I hope I'm not repeating anything you just said. We had Kobe on, Kobe Orr from South Carolina State representative. We had him on when we were doing our I guess you could say round the conference breakdown of D1 football. And our man Blue, you know what I'm saying, from the Blue Bloods, made the comment, does Buddy Pough retire and Chennis Berry take over? And we were like, oh, hey man, you stirring the pot, because it hadn't been at the time, it hadn't been announced. But now that he has been announced, that it has been announced that Coach Buddy Pough is stepping away. I'm gonna say stepping down, because I don't think he's gonna step away. I think he's gonna in some form or fashion he's gonna be helping behind the scene. But now that we know, Chennis Berry has got to be on the top of that list. I don't care how popular the NFL player is, Chennis Berry has got to be on the top of that list.
We talked about that too privately. I wish that, matter of fact, I'm gonna shoot you some stuff privately, like my true opinions about this, but I'm gonna keep it like for general consumption. I'm always telling people don't spend enough time in their school's 990, okay, to understand the financial state of your school. Benedict is in a great financial position as a school. Benedict is in a great financial position, their athletic department. 2021, they turned a $400,000 profit per equity in sports athletics. Like, they are doing major things. Then if you compare for the last 10 years, their 990s compared to South Carolina State 990s, you will say, now wait a minute. Something else that's really interesting in those 990s, they break down the total head coach's salary. Now, we can do basic math. Benedict seems to have Berry in a place that it would be hard. Like, South Carolina State is going to have to push up and cough up that bread. I think I saw where Buddy Pough was like at 287. It got to take 310 to get him there. I mean, in backtracking, Berry is a D2 guy. And one of the points I want to make is I think his Benedict team this year is better than his Benedict team last year. And that should be very serious.
I completely agree.
Now, if he goes and he makes noise in the playoffs, because I think the GSC is as weak as it's ever been. I think this is a prime opportunity for Benedict to make a deep playoff run. His name could go beyond HBCU circles before this season is over with. And I think if he makes himself noticeable outside HBCU circles, I think, he might can go anywhere he wants to go outside South Carolina State. I'm not stopping at South Carolina State for Coach Berry because, just to be honest with you, that Benedict team right now can beat South Carolina State. Now, I know that's going to be there's going to be some people who might click that and say blah, 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 but please, that Benedict team is, I've said this, like, it seems like everybody else in the conference is playing for second place right now because they're not leaving any bones. They're not leaving any meat on the bones, man. So it'd be like if he wants to go up in, D1, but the conversation around HBCUs, like, we're starting to see now D2, D1 HBCUs, like, he has job security at Benedict. He can stay there forever, to be honest with you. And I think Benedict can compete money-wise with South Carolina State. Well, they don't think about it. They can compete money-wise with South Carolina State. But in South Carolina State, do they want to spend that bag on a Chennis Berry, But they should go after. They would have to tell me no. He would have to tell me no 20 times before I move on, to be honest.
I'm so glad you talked about you mentioned because we talked about it last week. And I'm gonna say, so anytime we have a conversation on our show and we talk to people we feel are experts, yourself, especially when it comes to D2 football, HBCU football, hey, the man, you know, at least the one I know, you know what I'm saying? So, but anytime we say something and it comes back and somebody agrees with us, it's like, okay, so we're not crazy. We literally stated last show, because we talked about like Miles winning. We talked about some of the games from week 1. I forget the week 2. Last week it was Miles, and I think there was another D2 over D1 win. I can't remember. But we talked about it, and we said that the talent gap is not as far off. Numbers wise, it's the same as FCS versus FBS, but you still it's a lot closer. It's and I'm with you. It's when you say Tuskegee, I feel like I can put Tuskegee up against a lot of schools. I can put Benedict against a lot of schools. And they may not necessarily win them, but it's gonna be a fight. It's gonna be a real good fight. So I'm definitely interested in seeing who makes this move. Ray Lewis, I'm not necessarily buying that one. I don't think he's a bad option. I think they've got more experience that they can do. And I don't want to see them make which I think Ray is more level-headed. I don't want to see another Ed Reed type situation. Yeah. Because Ed Reed I think he has a lot of life and experience he can share, but the way he went about things really made me question his capacity to handle some of the day in and day outs of being a head coach. So
yeah,
or being a coach, period. So
absolutely, and especially a coach at an HBCU. Right. I think for South Carolina State, and not, I try to stay out there MEAC and SWAC business, because sometimes their fans, they be all over the place, but whatever. One of the things that I would say, I know there's talk about whether Mrs. Campbell wants the job or doesn't want the job as AD. I have this critique about all schools, even when my school was in the debacle about the AD position. Secure that AD position, because if you go try to bring a coach in and bring an AD in later, most ADs, they got a little list of people that they want, they have their own ideas. And a lot of times you bring a lot of tension in your program by hiring the coach, then turn around and hiring the AD. I don't know if Ms. Campbell wants the job. That's he say, she say on Twitter, because I'm not that far invested in it. But if she wants the job, go ahead and lock her in as AD. She seems to really, genuinely love the program, and then move forward with somebody to head your athletic program with a clear vision, and not to be like Coach Berry and start preaching on the show. But a lot of people in the HBCU circles are, they Christian, so they be following by the Bible. And the Bible say, where there's no vision, the people perish. Like, get a leader over your athletic department. Yeah. Let them lead, show the vision, show the people the vision, and watch the people fall in place and lead your athletic department. So, like, yeah, before I start hearing coaching rumors, I want to hear AD rumors. That's what I want to hear. I want to hear AD in place.
Yeah, first of all, kick coach AD Campbell is one of the I don't know. I mean, I know of a few ADs. She is one of my favorites. Just how she handles business, how she communicates with everyone, and how transparent she is with some of her information. Yeah, she's definitely because she mentioned before, somebody asked her before about, or they mentioned about Buddy Pough before the announcement, and she was straightforward. She was like, hey, she didn't necessarily say the part about understanding, saying the way the direction the team was going. She didn't say it, but her comments were, Buddy Pough is a legend, and he's gonna be able to go out on his time. Understood perfectly what she meant. Yes, ma'am. All right.
Right. Yep. I can't remember whether it was 5-6 years ago. Like, that was at one time they had a little talk. He was able to bounce back and put a solid team. It was some talk years back, people was like, okay, is it time for him to push him out? You know, and I will say this, like historically speaking, I think about Alabama State and Houston Markham, and I know that I shouldn't be speaking on Alabama State, but I think about him a lot. Okay, they do a lot to honor him now, but at the time when Houston Markham got fired, yeah, Reggie Barlow is another one.
Man, I'm so glad you said it. Yes, completely agree.
And I don't think anybody loves Alabama State more than Reggie Barlow does. Like Reggie Barlow loves Alabama State. Even after all the debacle that happened around his exit, you know, I Tuskegee and Slater, like, you know what I'm saying? Like that wasn't the prettiest outro either. And I was very critical of my own institution. Like, you have to be careful how you treat your legends on their way out. And I think all our institutions can do a better job at how we handle, you know, and communicate when it's time for our legends to hang up their hats. And I just want all our institutions to be better at that.
Hey, I'm completely agree. Man, we can move on. But I do share that same sentiment. One thing I do want to say in closing on this topic, whoever they replace him with, it's two things that he's going to have to be able to do to keep up with South Carolina State standard. He's going to have to be able to work with or maximize the talent that they get, because from what I've been told or what I was hearing, their recruiting budget isn't that much. And so he has to be able to recruit the state of South Carolina, maybe North Carolina every now and then. They may be able to snatch one up from there. And he has to maximize that talent. Two, he has to be able to produce and get those players into the NFL at a constant clip. Because those are two things that Buddy Pough did that nobody could take away from him.
Right.
So that man changed some lives. Period.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
But man, let's I want to start one of the big games that happened this weekend. North Carolina Central versus UCLA. This game, the final, I don't know a lot to a very little. I wasn't necessarily expecting this huge win or you know, competitive match between North Carolina Central and UCLA, but I was expecting to see a little bit more from Davis Richard. And I understand that, you know, he may, you know, saying I don't necessarily think it jeopardized his draft stock or what it may been or hurt him much, but I was expecting to see him do a lot better, if that makes sense.
You know, I've heard different. I don't want to speculate, but I've heard like that he was already tweaked a little bit prior to going into that game. But like I said, you know, I'm not that plugged in with that program to know. But I have heard that. I've read a couple of articles that they have out about him. I think for me, you know, and got the high respect for Josh over HBCU Nightly. Of course, he's a big North Carolina Central guy, and you know, he never lets us forget. And I don't blame him because I don't let people forget about Ski either. So hey, you know, I respect his push. I think for me, when you start talking about those out west games, you know, like I know that, you know, people were going on this whole thing, and you know, Josh has his opinion about whether those scholarships makes a difference, and you know, you're too deep. Everybody plays too deep.
Yeah.
And we talked about the difference in money, but however, my position on that is, look, yes, too deep, but let me tell you a few things money can buy you. It can buy you more coaches. It can buy you more analytical software. It can buy you better nutritional programs. There are a lot of things that are being pumped up. Like the amount of money, like you go and you look at those schools, the amount of money that they're spending per player, okay, outside of student aid, their scholarship money is where that different. Like they're pumping money into those boys' bodies. And that's what happened. I mean, we can clearly see from the injuries. I mean, we had every year, it seems like, or every other year, we have a big major injury. I think back when Odoms was at Southern, they played University of Georgia. and the
Oh
guy
yeah.
got hurt, you know. And one of the things that Odom said, he was glad that it happened at Georgia. It didn't happen anywhere else because they had the medical facilities to take care of, to see after him. What happened at, you know, with Grambling, their linebacker, you know, like we have to also keep that in our mind. You know, we have to keep that in the back of our heads that not only the well-being of our players has to be, you know, in the forefront of our mind when we start going into those games. So I know one of the guys that I do the site talk with, he was like, you know, he was saying that he was going to see a competitive game. And privately, I was like, you know, hey, I'm always rooting for HBCU. If the HBCU guys come down and say, hey, you know, we get them, we get them. However, we still don't know a ton about out West football, dog. Like, when we talk about what we know, you know, how we ranking the Alabama and Georgia and Florida, those high school recruits, like we know that football. We know those ranking systems. We know what we're looking at. Out West, those guys be at high schools that we never heard of, never saw on the mains. Like, we don't know. So we really can't gauge like how good an Out West team is just by just looking at their roster and saying blah blah this, blah blah that, because there ain't a lot of hoopla out there. You know, it is what it is. And no, I didn't like to see them get pushed around out there, but that size difference was there. Like there was a difference. And you know, it's just one of those things. I hope they come out healthy because, you know, I mean, they're the reigning HBC D1 HBCU national champs. And, you know, I want to see them at full strength, you know, going into the conference schedule. But you know, it just didn't happen. It just didn't happen that way for him. And, you know, rough day.
Yeah, I completely agree. It and him possibly being injured or being a little nicked up would explain a lot. North Carolina Central so far this season hasn't looked as dominant as a lot of people would like. We've heard things like maybe they're just trying to, you know, save from maybe they're just trying to save from actually being so hurt. I mean, not hurt, showing so much of their playbook. I've heard all kinds of things. Biggest thing, I know what they returned. I know how they looked last year, and I'm expecting more. At the end of the day, as long as they getting the W's, that's all that matters. But our expectations are, you know, a lot different. So, and I'm sorry, Dr. Kavir, I missed this comment about Coach Alva. He said Coach Alva said as much this morning on the MEAC media call. Said Richards was nicked from the game, from the A&T game, and that's why they pulled him earlier. So, yeah. So, like I said, I know we have expectations because I've had to say that about a lot of college football this season. We've got expectations of certain things, and when we don't see it, we start saying, "Oh, you know." Prime example, and I hate to go, you know, since our FBS here, but Alabama. Right now, people are saying I've heard people say I've said Alabama straight, but I've got personal, you know, saying reason I talk like you talk about Alabama, I talk about Alabama like a dog. But as bad as they may look, Alabama will still win 9 games this season, and for most teams that'll be a success. Yeah. For Alabama, that is piss poor. That's not acceptable. They're gonna be calling for Saban. They're gonna be calling for Saban head, but from a 9-win season, I know it's crazy. But you know what I'm saying, when you got expectations, that's how it is. Yeah. But yeah, I like I said, I didn't like seeing them getting beat like they did. And just because one, I tend to root for underdogs, period. But I strongly root for HBCUs. So that was one thing. Another game that was similar, but it had a little promise in the beginning. Jackson State versus Texas State.
And the Twitter streets have gotten on my nerve about this game. Goodness. You know, they have gotten on my last nerve about this game. I can't even hold you.
Yeah, I know. I've seen them. I've seen all kind of mockery about that game. I do want to say to all those out there, remember, your team got to play them or beat them. So it's all fun and games till till the rabbit got the gun, I guess. So
yeah, because it ain't no Texas States in the SWAC, so
it ain't. Yeah, and I'm just I am impressed to see how competitive they were for that first half at least. That game was extremely close. And I talked about it last night. Speaking of the Alabama game, Alabama and South Florida, look at how well FAMU played against South Florida and had a chance to win that game. So,
and listen, I just want to interject some about Florida and them. Of course, like I'm a real big D2 fan. One of the games that I had circled was that West Florida versus FAMU game. And when
let's go there now because that's on here too. Let's go there now. Go ahead.
I talk about SWAC schools, when they play D2 teams, and how it happens. I'm really proud of FAMU for coming out that third quarter and showing why they're Florida A&M University, and allowing us to be the last D2 team, Tuskegee to be the last D2 team to beat them. Don't get beat by another D2 team till we play y'all again. Like, don't, beat these boys. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
for real. But I was actually happy to see it, because I was gonna talk about you if you had lost that game, but
yeah,
I won it.
Listen, every time I see a D2 team in a D1 HBCU play, I swear your words come to my mind. I read stuff in your voice. I'm like, oh, he finna get him. He finna get him. I think about the articles you put up and all that. But yeah, man, it's yeah.
I was glad that was a good win. I know some of the talk is that West Florida got new coaching staff, whatever. But no, hats off to West Florida showed why they're West Florida. I mean, when it was 3-3, it was tight. That defense for West Florida, they are what they are. But that defense also for Florida A&M really showed, because West Florida has some weapons. They got John Giles. I mean, they have weapons. Pee-wee, he's a quarterback. I mean, don't make no mistakes about it. So I was glad to see Florida A&M come out on top of that game.
Right.
And I'm gonna take a shot at Herb here because Herb was always saying that Alabama State got one of the best defenses in the SWAC. I don't know how we get there, but from what I see right now, how y'all defense surpassing Florida A&M's defense? But whatever.
I would. So they do have. It's funny you say that. One of the reasons why Alabama State was even as close to Miles in that game, they got a pick six. So I'm not going to take anything. I think they do have a really good defense. The only problem is they're on the field a lot. They got a very well conditioned defense. So,
but I pushed back on that. Even when I was on ABC Nightclub, I pushed back on that because the time of possessions don't show that. In that Miles game, that time, like Bama State was putting some drives together. Like,
right.
It's not like it was last year for their defense. Like, I will say they defense, but I always miss the guy's name that played the middle for Bama State, the real big guy. Like, when I saw them in the spring, and I've said this open. When I saw them in the spring and everybody was going, I was like, this is not. I expected more from Bama State defense because that defense that I had experienced those last 2 or 3 years from Bama State. They were solid defenses.
All right.
However, I'm looking at this only thing they can do is run the ball offense, for Bama State during the spring game. Still able to move the ball on this defense. Like, prior to, you couldn't run that ball up the middle on Bama State. Like, Miles ran the ball. Now, they weren't these big, long, bursts of speed,
but they get 2 or 3 yards.
Yeah, it was 2 or 3 yards. Like, they whooped them 2 or 3 yards up front. Like, just hit the hole hard, get 2 or 3 yards, move the ball, and getting first down. That's what they did. I was not used to seeing Bama State's defense be that way. Now, one of the things that I asked the coaching staff was, were they concerned with, how lengthy Alabama State is in the secondary, their speed. But I've seen Miles wide receivers neutralize that in a sense. So they can be neutralized. Prior to, I didn't see Bama State being neutralized. They were just giving down. That defense has ways they can be exploited this year that I hadn't seen them be able to be exploited in years before. So in comparison, I'm like, I don't think this Bama State defense is as good as prior defenses because, Miles' defense shut your offense down last year, but Miles' offense couldn't do anything against your defense last year. Yeah. This Miles' offense is improved, but they shouldn't have been that improved. That, in all honesty, if Miles hadn't shot themselves in the foot a couple of times in the red zone, they could have beat Bama State by three scores easily. And that would not have happened on that Bama State defense last year.
Yeah. Dr. Cavilles says, I agree. It's not the same Bama State defense of the last 2 years, or at least not yet. So I agree. I think they're to your point, they went from a strong defense that could stop the run, stop the pass, to a defense that can slow down the run and stop the pass. So that's what
and I mean, Bubba is Bubba. Because if they didn't have him, teams would run completely over. Like, if Bubba was not able to read those gaps the way that he does, and he's not scared to meet that. He meets you in that gap. I'll tell any running back now, you can't pity pat in there with him because he's gonna meet you. He is going to meet you in that gap. I think without Bubba, man, they'll be in bad shape. The other linebacker is not bad, but he's a running mate kind of with Bubba. But if they ain't have Bubba, that defense, and then what's the guy in the secondary? They have pieces. What's the other guy that transferred out?
You're talking about Davis. It's not Isaiah, is Davis. It's not Israel. I can't. I know you're talking about.
I can't think, but they're still missing. I think they miss him, a little bit in that defense, and of course they missed the guy up front. They missed that big. Because he was a nose guard for him. They could go three down linemen and still stop the run last year because he was going to demand a double team. You weren't going. Who was going to isolate with him? Nobody. He demanded, and they don't have that presence right now. Now, will they get it together before the season? They've had a week off. They know they got a big game coming up Saturday.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that, because let me ask you this question. We're talking about this right now. You've got FAMU, who can run the ball or has shown the ability to run the ball, but they're not necessarily a run heavy team and go more to the pass, versus a defense that's a little bit more susceptible to the run and will each kind of, get their bones on the in the passing. Does that favor Alabama? I'm not going to ask for a prediction, but does that favor Alabama State? A lot more, if FAMU is reluctant to run?
I'll say this. I think Bama State's defense is their level of play is going to directly rely on how well the offense has progressed in that off week.
Okay.
Because at some point as a defense, you're gonna get to a point where offense, come on now. You got to hang with us. You know what I'm saying? When they beat Southern, I think that was a real, okay, we finally got over the hump of Southern. Okay, because I've seen Southern come down there and just destroy Bama State year after year when they would play, Rick. But I think the loss to Miles was demoralizing, but I don't think that loss to Miles should be demoralizing, because if people watch the film, I don't think people watch enough film and tape.
Miles is good.
Yeah, that's
Miles ain't Miles of last.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Miles' defense was solid last year. Okay, they were the only team to hold Benedict to one offensive touchdown in the game. So that score was 20-3 or 20-0, something like that. But Miles' defense was up there last year, but their offense couldn't move the ball at all. Okay,
right.
So I think they played two good teams. Don't get me. I think throw the divisions away. They played a Southern that turned around and beat A&M last week. People had written them off like, they were done. We saw the petition that was floating around.
Yeah, guilty.
The petition was flowing around. Had Coach Cornell Manor, he was barking. I feel like he felt like it was blood in the water. He was barking like a bloodhound or something. But them Jaguars came to life. They beat him. So I think Bama State, they have something to build off of. Like, okay. Like, yeah, we lost a close one with Miles. I mean, but you play a team 23 times and think they ain't gonna get you one time? Come on now. Like, I mean, you got guys coming out the same high school. They done play, Miles is actually a rivalry game for Bama State.
Yeah.
I know he went a long time without playing, but Miles was actually one of the original Turkey Day Classic opponent before the Turkey Day Classic was Turkey Day Classic. Like, they used to play Miles on Thanksgiving back in the day. So they got a lot of history there. So just throw that away. I think they can focus on Florida A&M. Do I think they can win? No. However, I think, I think it's too early for them to hit the panic button.
Right.
I think it's way too early for them to hit the panic button. And I talk about Williams. Of course, Williams is a Tuskegee guy, the offensive coordinator. And I'm always telling people, turn on the tape when he was at Morehouse. The offenses resemble each other. I would give him credit, though, that he does not try to put Davis in bad predicaments.
Completely agree.
And I think that that's showing a level of creativity. I mean, whether his hands are tied or whatever with that, we don't know. I don't know the culture that's going on at Bama State. But I do want them to go down there and be competitive because a lot of people like this coaching staff. This was this felt like this hire for Bama State was like, okay, can we finally get it right? Can we finally? So, I don't want them to go out there and get 50 hung on them, even though, I'll celebrate if they do, but I don't want to see them get 50. So I want to be competitive, but that defense is really going to feed off of whether that offense can move the ball on FAMU defense.
That's facts. That's facts.
It is. I mean, can they run on FAMU? That's the big question.
That is going to be. Next one, man. Florida Memorial versus Grambling. I honestly, so the score doesn't reflect. Grambling's got a real bad problem on defense. A real bad problem. And I really thought that Grambling may have been the second, third, at least top third defense in the SWAC. They got a problem. If Miles Crowley was not at Grambling, that game against Hampton would have been a real big blowout. So
when it comes down to Florida Memorial, okay, that's why I see stuff the loss from Florida Memorial. They beat Edward Waters, a team that I thought was going to be taking a step forward. However, Edward Waters seemed to have come to life after, that loss because they turn around and they play Fort Valley, which I think is one of the better teams in the conference. Like, they take them down. They actually had a chance to tie, to take it into overtime, but Coach Morgan, he rolled the dice. I agree with the call. He tried to win it. You've been toe-to-toe. It's a late game. Hey, go for the win. Hey, you win and lose them on the field. So they went for the win. Fort Valley, holds on. Florida Memorial just has like that raw talent. Because when I first looked at the score, I think somebody sent it because I was broadcasting the game on the Golden Tiger Network this weekend. And they sent me the score, and I was like, wait, is Florida Memorial really going to slip up there and get Grambling? And then, of course, when I finally later on went back.
Right.
I saw that Grambling, turned around and did it. So Florida Memorial just has that raw Florida talent, and that NAIA, like, it is what it is. Like, them guys, they can play. You go out there tripping if you want to. And so you saw that. As far as Grambling defense, I have yet to watch. I did not watch the Grambling Hampton game. I've seen a few stat lines. A couple of guys on the side talk, they follow, like Kelly Flicks. He follows Grambling. He talks about him. He's really high on Miles Crawley. But I think you're right.
Miles definitely deserves it. I put it like this. If it not be for Davis Richard, Miles Crawley would probably be the highest rated HBCU quarterback.
I think you bring up either I'm lagging or lagging.
Did you hear me? Can you hear me now?
It's still like you frozen and kind of chopping up.
I don't know if it's me or you, because I see you good.
Let me check my Wi-Fi connection.
All right. All right. I'm good over here. Are you am I?
Okay. You coming through a little bit better now.
Okay. Hold on. Let me see. See if that helps. All right. Uh-oh. Yeah, I had him too, Dr. Cavill. Dr. Cavill said we both good on his side. All right. As D2 gets his there we go. Hold on. All right. Good. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. I was showing good. I was seeing you good. Dr. Ville said he was seeing both of us. But to I guess to answer and what we were talking about. I said if it were not for Davis Richard, Miles Crawley would be the highest rated HBCU quarterback, in my opinion. And that says a lot because a lot of people are high on Jerry Mamusa, which I don't think he's not a bad quarterback. But Miles has been phenomenal. That game against Hampton, then the game with LSU both were very impressive. Which brings me to Grambling's defense. LSU scored on, and granted, I understand FCS. LSU scored on every possession except for one. And that was the one at the end with the, I think, third string in. So when you have situations like that, you have how they performed against Hampton. And then this weekend against Florida Memorial, it just feels like the talent, I'm not the talent. There has to be a point in where your scheme would allow you to get a few stops for some fourth downs and stuff, So that's why I say that and mention that about them. Awesome again. See if we can get them back, and we'll try to speed rush through some of these. All right. All right. While we're waiting on our guests to return, I'm gonna go ahead and talk about Prairie View and SMU this weekend. It was oh, here we go. All right. And I'll actually, if we can get ready to move on, talk about Prairie View and SMU. That was that one, and I can actually lump these these two together. Prairie View versus SMU and Texas Southern versus Rice. Both games were just true epitome of money games. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Dr. Cavil. I know them both yo, but
I tell you what, bro, I think my Wi-Fi is acting up because it's still choppy on my end.
okay.
I'm gonna just come on my phone.
All right, that'll work.
All right.
All right. Now wait for him to get back. But as I was saying about the those two games, I know the coaches say they can, you know, they can learn from these games, they can see stuff, go against, you know, competition. I wonder really all the good that happens when you've got, you know, you have injuries or you have basically submitting your team to almost what seems like punishment. You know, that's just those kind of games, they worry me. So that's my stance on that one. I'll wait for D2 to get back because I want to really get his opinion on this Hampton versus Howard game before we move on to a few more other hot topics. Actually, while I'm waiting for him, we got a little break. Let's go ahead and throw up our top 10 for D1 football, D1 HBCU football. All right. All right, gotcha. Hey, give me one second. I'm finna put up I'm gonna put up the our top 10 real quick for this week. All right, so for this week, this was our top 10 for D1 football. At number 10, we got Grambling. At number 9, we've got Southern. Both of those teams moved up this week, as well as Alcorn State, who comes in at number 8. At number 6, tied at number 6, we got Morgan State and Howard. I know those fans aren't going to like that they're tied, but yeah, we got Morgan State and Howard both tied at 6. Both teams dropped. We've got Jackson State at number 5. They also dropped. Moving up, got Hampton in the number 4 spot. In the number 3 spot, we got Tennessee State, who had a big win over Gardner-Webb with a last-second field goal. And number 2, we got North Carolina Central that moved down from the number 1 spot, who is now owned by Florida A&M. So that's what we got for the top 10. I'll say that one was painful. That was painful this week trying to get that one together. But
I'm sure. I listened to AD Drew and I can't think of the other guy's name on Black College Sport Network. Like they was going through like, how do you break that down? Like how do you rank them because of the type of opponents they played? Like it's a lot that goes into that.
Right.
You know, so
yeah, cause it's very unique because like in FBS you can look at a team, look who they played and stuff, and it's like well, you know, depending on how they do it, you know, saying it could be this, it could be that, you know. With HBCU, like, did they play up? Did they play down? Who did they play? How did they perform? They got beat, but did they get beat real bad? You know, and it's kind of, you know, that's the situation when you look at that. So it was a lot of factors that kind of went into ours, and it was more or less, you know, were they competitive when they lost? Who did they play? You know. And then it was kind of some, you know, a few upsets. Speaking of upsets, and we talked about Howard dropping, Hampton versus Howard, the comeback. Hampton beat Howard by 1 point, 35-34. Some people have they've called for the quarterback's head.
Yep.
Quentin Williams. Yeah. So I don't know. I thought Howard. It feels like Howard realistically gave that game away, and with that being said, it's crazy to think Hampton should be 3-0. Now we know last week with the ineligible players, and saying that's why the Norfolk State lost. So
I mean, but they were ineligible this week too, so they beat Howard. So it's like,
but I and the reason I say that because last week I'm thinking my mindset, and I could be wrong in this. My mindset is they were, I guess, caught off guard by some of, maybe it was like on, on a Thursday they found out, and then they had to rearrange they, depth chart and stuff like that. But when you've got a whole extra week to prepare, you can kind of feel things through. So that's my thought process. I could be wrong, but that's why I felt like that one was kind of interesting. So another game I did not see. You know what? I called it, but I figured thought it was going to happen different. Morgan losing to Towson. So originally, this was my thought. I said, especially after they beat Richmond, I was like, they can beat Akron. They're going to beat Akron. And I said, my thought was they'll still be riding the high from the Richmond game. They'll have the confidence. They'll beat Akron, and then they'll get, caught in that sleep, that honeymoon, and lose to Towson.
Okay.
I think it still happened, but instead of having that other dub against Akron, they just had we should beat them. We're better than them, and it didn't happen.
Yeah,
that's just my opinion.
One of the things that how they lost that Akron game. To come back and to be that close to victory has to be a little demoralizing, in a sense. It has to be disappointing. So you come back out and you play a team, and you may still have some hangover from last week, but they have a quality coaching staff. This is what his second year. They're going out competing. Everybody's talking about their defense. Some people are shaking on their offense. Or whatever. Haven't watched that much film on them. I watched a few plays on their defense just because their defensive coordinator, he was one of the guys that I was pushing for to get, before the whole idea of Ruffin coming over to Tuskegee. He was actually the guy that I was like, hey,
okay,
I want him. I want him at Tuskegee, and I was really open and vocal about that. So I'm a fan of his. When he took the defensive coordinator job at Bama State, I told him, I said, you know what? Your stock went down a little low with me, but you still my guy. You still my guy. You still can come up to the farm and ride horses if you want to, but your stock went down a little bit for me. But no, it was just one of those weekends, man. We were 3 weeks into football. 4 if you count week 0, but we're in the 3rd week of football, and it seems like a lot of football has been played. It's been a lot of emotional games in these 3 weeks. These have been emotional, drag out, bragging rights. You would think we're mid-season,
I completely agree.
And so I had some letdowns across the board. Just across the board. It's almost like, all right, let's go to week 4. When I tell you I am so excited for week 4, I don't know what to tell you. Like week 3, it was rough. And now I'm gonna tell you what I don't necessarily like. I know when people talk about the quarterback, and I know there's been a lot of attacks on Howard's quarterback, or whatever the case may have been. These are still student athletes. Like I always go back. These are still student athletes.
Still kids. Period.
Yeah, and I've heard some people call the quarterback at Howard dumb. He goes to Howard. What do you mean? Like, cut that out. Cut that out. Like, just cut that out. Rally behind your team. Support these guys. It is a struggle. If you're around these programs, we win some, we lose some. Yes, I want Tuskegee to win every game. But hey, it is what it is. And so with Morgan, I think Morgan gonna be all right. I mean, I think they have the right guy. They have the right pieces in place.
Mm-hmm.
Going up against Towson, I mean, you want them to get the win, but I mean, they still had to win against Richmond. They still have most of their goals still intact.
Yeah.
Like it's still intact for them. So, Howard losing to Hampton, your goal's still intact. Like you guess what? You still don't have to be a co-champion this year. You can win. Like you can win, dog. Like,
Yeah.
come on now. I mean, you want to clearly the coaching staff. I question certain decisions by coaching staffs, but at the end of the day, I always go back to this. They're seeing these players every day in practice.
Mm-hmm.
They are like they are seeing them. They see how the team responds to them. They seeing how, and you can't tell me that nobody wants to win more than the coach. His job on the line.
Yeah.
My job, how I eat, ain't on the line.
Hey,
how I eat.
And not just that, there are some especially how these contracts are written up. A lot of them, if they win a certain amount of games, they'll get a bonus.
Yeah.
If they do this or this, they'll get a bonus. If some of them, hey, if we have the most competitive this, we'll get a bonus. So I'm with you on some of them making the best decision, at least that they think. So yeah,
let them play out. I mean, that's the same Howard that just that's the same quarterback that just almost won you the game against the FBS team.
Yeah, Eastern Michigan. Yeah, I completely agree. Back on, and we got I got a few more we can touch on. Definitely got to touch on this one. Alabama A&M and Southern. Langford, him not being there showed a lot. I immediately it's funny, I noticed at the Lane game, Alabama A&M and Lane, I saw him limping on the sideline, and I was like, is that something to, be concerned about? Because it was a bad limp. Is that something to be concerned about? But I was like, nah, they got a week off. They had pulled him from the game anyway, so they got a week off. He's good. So then that happens. Then somebody announced it's a shoulder, and he's listed. And I asked, that was like the first question to Coach Manor today. Hey, what's the status on Langford? He said he's day-to-day and questionable. Whoa. And then if he plays in that game this past Saturday, I think Alabama A&M gets a win. Him not being there and UAPB coming off a win with some momentum, might be that game might be a little on a short week, might a little bit too close for comfort.
I'm gonna tell you what bothered me in that A&M game in Southern.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of the quarterback, you can't have negative 17 yards on the ground against a conference opponent. Come on now. I mean, you had 135 against Vanderbilt. You get manhandled that bad? Negative 17? So yeah, you might have missed your quarterback, but you must have missed your offensive line too. Like that one there.
See, the week prior, they had the backup Morrow. He got player. I knew then. I was talking to Mo Carter, and I was telling him, I said, hey, he's gonna be your player of the week. And I said he had I forgot how I think it was 180 yards. I said he's your player of the week. So yeah.
They had negative 17 yards on 38 attempts.
I'm looking. But see, and 7 of them were your quarterback. Those are sacks. So yeah. That was negative 32, and that was negative 32 yards there. Yikes. So.
And they only gained a total of 89, which means you got whooped around up there. And they was pretty 50-50. They were 30. They threw the ball 39 times.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, yeah, though, that was rough. But you know what? I was comparing the game, so I was looking at Lane, and one of the things that I had to eat my words was I was wondering, could Lane challenge Benedict? Okay, because Benedict hadn't been scored on all year. They played Shaw, dismantled Shaw. Okay. Then they came back, they dismantled Edward Waters. Okay, well, maybe Edward Waters is really down. So I was like, well, Lane, one thing we know Lane can do. Okay. Lane wants to throw the ball. They want to see let that ball rip.
Hey, y'all got y'all. Well, not y'all. I say y'all. Lane got him a quarterback. That boy can throw that thing too. He's young though. That's the
And I'm looking at they were able to they were able to throw the ball around a little bit on A&M. 4 interceptions though. That's what's gonna get them in trouble. So I was just looking there, and what Benedict did to Lane. Okay,
talk about it. Here we go.
Was dreadful. I mean, Lane had negative yards rushing the ball too. So and them was in the same boat. I think they had -7 on the ground against Benedict. They couldn't throw the ball. I think they had a total of 69, 79 yards total offense against Benedict. It was total domination. With that being said, back to the A&M and Southern, it made me rethink, okay, well, if Lane was able to, move the ball as well as because Lane put some drive together against A&M. Turnovers, can't finish drives, that was their Achilles heel. And also having a bad pump. Okay. People, that's an underrated ability to be able to flip field position to make a team have to drive the field on you instead of always in plus territory on you. I was like, okay, well, maybe I put too much. Maybe I put too much on Lane's offense. Either I put too much on Lane's offense or too much on A&M defense. But either way, what I do know is it's week 3, and I still don't know. I still don't have a clear picture. So I think with A&M, Southern, I mean, for the SWAC, me just on the outside looking in, and I only look at A&M because we have A&M on the schedule. That's the only reason that I even diving into A&M, and it looked like we might go into that A&M game beat up a little bit too. That's concerning. Our starting quarterback down. We took a few guys that went out this past weekend, so I got my eye on A&M. I got my eye see if Langford come back. I'm watching to see what they got going on, but. Man, it's week 3, and the only thing I can tell you.
That's true, too.
In both conferences, from what I see, FAMU is for real. Benedict is for real. I think Jackson State is solid.
Oh, yeah.
I think Ski is solid. I think Fort Valley is solid. Those second place teams, I think they're solid. But, man, I think honestly, we're going to be deep into the season before we can really I think these rankings are going to shuffle every week.
Oh, yeah.
I just think, man, there's a lot of competitiveness. And one of the things that I said about the SIAC going to this 8-game mandate in the conference was I hope the conference then devoured itself. Now, I was young in 1991, but just reading it because history is my thing. There was a 5-way tie in 1991 in the conference. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going back looking. I'm looking at, we got to think about now, in all honesty, with the social media. I know we talked about this with Buddy Pough and recruiting now. Teams are getting more and more creative with recruiting, getting guys. Like social media allows you to get into guys' homes that you would never been able to get into 10 years ago. Like you got direct way into these guys, these mass camps, these mega camps where all these kids are traveling to, and you get to see 400 kids, in one place to go. The big guys are there to look at who they looking at, but you looking at around these guys that hanging around, see a little glimpse. Like there's a lot that comes to. So I think what we're just seeing a lot of teams with. They may not be the complete package, but they got enough to whoop you on a Saturday. So it's like, I think we're gonna see a lot of those. I'm not just gonna count A&M out because looking at them, they got me a little nervous about us going up there. From what I saw, it's like, okay, like when they together, they together.
Yeah.
I looked at how they played Vanderbilt. It's like, okay, yeah. They there. So
I agree. And a couple, D-Lob said those fumbles killed A&M. Dr. Cavill said the Bulldogs struggled up front. I tell you what I saw. They could not. A&M, Coach Maynard likes to be balanced. You know what I'm saying? As far as I can tell. If he's got a quarterback who can slang it, he gonna slang it. You know what I'm saying? If he's got a quarterback who, like Langford, who's, solid, is consistent, I forget what he was against. I know against Vanderbilt, it was like 10 or 15 or something like that, or something. It was something where it was okay, that's a decent day. Against Lane, he was like 16 or 18. When you got somebody who's solid in in that aspect, he's going to try to get you, run pass balance. He's going to, it's like 180 yards pass and 180 yards rushing, something like that. When they were off kilter, when Length was out, they're off kilter. It just felt like they were, I don't know, it's you put on another man's shoes and trying, why size too small. It just felt uncomfortable. Yeah. And then they kind of got it, started getting it together and got down the goal and fumbled, which I still don't think. I thought it was either a touchdown and he was down. So yeah. But yeah, I think that one's now this Benedict Lane game. All summer when Phoenix left, everybody was talking about Benedict's not going to be the same. They had already started crowning other people in the SIAC. Who was it they had? Was it Fort Valley State was number 1, and then Albany State number 2, and y'all number 3?
So they left Benedict number 1.
Okay.
What I didn't like was they had Fort Valley 4, and then they had Albany State 3, and I think Tuskegee 2. Now,
okay.
I love Tuskegee. I can be biased, but I try when I'm talking about the conference, I try to be honest. Last year, because of the divisions, the championship game did not feature the 2 best teams in the conference. Fort Valley was by far the 2nd best team in the conference. Mm-hmm. We can argue whether Tuskegee or Albany State was 3 or 4, but that's neither here nor there. So when the rankings came out, Benedict won. See, I'm one of those ones, and I'm going to lead the champ there until somebody prove they can knock off.
I can respect that.
That's where I am with that. Now, 2, 3, and 4, I had a problem. They had Tuskegee 2. Of course, I celebrate that. However, I saw what Fort Valley did to us last season.
You're right.
Okay. And I felt like I knew what Fort Valley had coming back. Of course, they had to replace Emmanuel Wilson. Hard to replace Emmanuel Wilson, but however, in Gibbs, I trust with running backs. Okay. So I had nothing in my mind was just going to tell me, yeah, Fort Valley just going to have this big fall off. I knew what they had coming back up front on the defensive side. I feel like Fort Valley should have been 2, and I feel like the people that voted, they don't watch film. They don't watch tape. Putting Albany State 3 or 4, 3 above Fort Valley, I thought that was ludicrous. A new coach coming in, want to change the whole system. A coach that took a few guys with him to the other school. I'm like, listen, I don't know how y'all came up with that concept, but please, why is Albany State number 3? Okay, like should just not be. Like I feel like it was disrespectful to Fort Valley. But you're right about to talk about Benedict. because it's not only they lost a quarterback, they lost so many guys up front. You know, they lost so many offensive line up front. But over the off season, I kept asking, wait, did y'all have guys that y'all were, because they had a bunch of grad transfers last year. Did y'all have guys in the program? When I got my answer that they was like, no, we had guys that, yeah, we had those grad transfers, but we had guys that we were matriculating through our system. Okay. Right on cue for Coach Beard, another check off like for him as a coach. Some young coaches that came to me, they was like, well, he's crazy for doing that. I said, I don't know, man. I've heard that he had those guys, but he had some guys that was up, coming up that he was getting right for that. And as we can see, they are there. That the question about the quarterback, Barry did not say word. Every time somebody asked him, he was not concerned. And we know now why he is not concerned, because Dennis,
he was the player of a week last week.
Man, Dennis
and the new kid and the newcomer of the week.
Yeah, I think not comparing quarterbacks. I think Dennis and Phoenix, their styles are different, so you don't compare them. However, what Benedict wants to run, it seems as if Dennis fits that system better than Phoenix did. Like, it's like Benedict had to adjust for Phoenix, whereas Dennis just fits that system for them. And then that defensive side, my God, like, I know we talk about a lot about Dennis Luberton, like, and he should, but he had some dogs with him. Like, it just ain't him. You got to deal with that front four. They don't have to send nobody else. You have to deal with that front four for Benedict, and that's scary business, dog. Like, I'm glad Skiggy ain't got Benedict on their schedule during the season. Like, let us get ourselves together. Like, let us work some stuff out. Y'all deal with that. I do have that Miles game circled for them though.
Yeah, yes, that's Miles Benedict is going to be a good one. Yeah. Benedict, 3 games. Have given up. So if I'm not mistaken, let me get this right. If my math serves me correct, let's see. 140 points to 7. And the only 7 points they gave up was this past Saturday to Lane.
On a fumble. I always make sure that I throw that in there. On the fumble. I want to.
It was a scooping score?
Yeah.
Oh, so shoot. Then that means their defense is giving up 0 points all season in 3 games. That's wild. That is wild.
They fumbled, and I think it was I don't think it was a scooping score. I think they fumbled and like on like the 5, and then Lane was able to just toss it.
Okay. All right.
But
I got
that defense,
man, either way, if it's 7 or 0 in 3 games, that's wow.
Yeah.
Man. So this next one, I know, what I'm saying, we talked about a little bit. It's a little soft subject. Miles, UAPB. UAPB squeaked out a win, 21-20 over Miles. You sent me the clip of where Miles scored and they called it back for illegal man downfield.
So one of the things about that, now I'm not gonna hang the game on that because
I get it.
Because Miles should never been in that predicament. You missed 2 field goals, you're down there, you 4th and inches to get a first down, 1st and goal, and you don't use your big quarterback. Like, all he has to do is fall forward. Who's stopping him from getting 4th and inches, dog? Nobody. That man gonna get a yard to a yard and a half every time he goes forward. His frame is just that big. I don't know, like, if I'm 4th and inches for Miles, I'm going for it every time. Everybody in the stadium can know what we're gonna do. I have not seen a defensive line that's gonna stop that man from getting 4th and inches. Like, just cut it out. So Miles has to be kicking themselves, for that game. And you know, I mean, it's one of those calls for me that just for me. And of course, some calls are just objective. I mean, because the letter of the law, yes, throw the flag. Because the letter of the law says if any part of the player's body is any part, isn't go. In game time, maybe the ref sees, all right, yeah, you know, looking at it, it's like, yeah, he's really stumbling over a block. But also, my critique, like I told you, he has to get that ball out. If you run the RPO, you got to get that ball out fast. Like, you know, these guys are pushing. Your offensive line can get pushed on UAPB's defensive line. They were pushing them around up front. You got to get that ball out of your hands faster. So Miles has, I mean, you know, that play, that's part of the football banter, but Miles has nobody to blame but themselves for not being 2-0 against the SWAC.
Yeah. Next one, Central State versus Tuskegee. This is one you had, and listen, I understand you try to be a little unbiased, you know, to an extent. You ain't talking about your squad enough for me, man. Tuskegee looks good. I was very impressed with the Red Tails Classic, one to come back against a very dominant, well, I would say dominant, a very good, a really good, exceptionally good Fort Valley State. That comeback, that what was it? For Tuskegee to come back and then get a big lead, and then Fort Valley State starts coming back, and the hold off at the end. That's got to be one. That's got to stand out. And then two, when you look at how Tuskegee has played since then, you got to be impressed.
So, you know, I keep quiet a little bit about Tuskegee because I want people to surprise. Like I don't need to give nobody no bulletin board material. Yeah. Okay, that's one. We still got some areas to grow up in, man. Like you talking about, like my era of Tuskegee football. I'm used to us. I mean, beating teams down at halftime. I ain't lying. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm still like one of those. We still got to get back to the Tuskegee standard and Tuskegee brand of football. Got a lot of playmakers. I've said this over and over. I'll take Tuskegee in a shootout with anybody any day. However, you know, I'm always talking about the offensive line. Okay, here we are. We're week 3. Our number 1 quarterback, he's down. Okay. We've given up 13 sacks. We gave up the most sacks in the conference last year. We gave up 37, something like that. Some huge number of sacks last season. I wanted that to be a point of emphasis. We are now the second. You know, I think Clark has given up. Somebody has given. Oh, is it Lane? Somebody has given up 14. We've given up 13. Okay, that's too many. Okay, like that's just too many, dog. Like. Yeah, we got to get better at that. We got to get better at running the football. We were successful running the football against Kentucky State. We only got 50 yards on the ground against Central State Saturday. Like, and we're trying to run the ball 40 to 50 times a game. Okay, so we have to establish the run game. So yes, we look good. We have some moments, but like to be cohesive, we're still young. You know, so like we're still young. And then on the flip side of that, Central State is a damn good football team. I mean, we saw them play Central State. I made a comment about Coach Wade, his coming at halftime. His coming at halftime when he was leaving, he said, we gotta self-correct because there's nothing that they doing over there across the, you know, on the other side of the field. We gotta self-correct. And then I tweeted, it was like after the game, I guess they never self-corrected. Central State is good. People look at the blowout loss to Dayton, but Dayton was 8-3 last year. You know, just one, but they were still able to score 21 points on Dayton and show they could move the ball. Right. Central State comes down. I said on the Golden Tiger Sport Network when I'm talking to the other two the color analysts, and I'm telling them like Central State is gonna be hungry. They've tweeted me all week. They've DM'd me all week. They let me know that hey, we are coming to Tuskegee, and they came to play ball. And Central State, they're there. You know, it's like, man, turnovers. Turnovers are big. Luckily for Tuskegee, we have a good punter and we have a good kicker. Yeah, that's our secret weapon.
Y'all got a kicker on Deacon Jones list, watch
Yeah.
list. That is
Yeah.
freaking ridiculous. First of all, that is terrible to have. No, I'm sorry. Not that y'all got a kick on there. It's nothing against the kicker. That is terrible that you got a Deacon Jones award and you putting kickers on the watch list. Get a kicker award for. Come on, man. Anyway, go ahead. I digress.
Yeah, he good, and you know what? He likes to hit. Like we got a kicker that likes to come down and hit. I mean, he likes to come down. He likes to point that ball. He want to come hit you. Yeah. But yeah, man. I mean, of course, our wide receiver room. Antonio Meeks, he's that guy.
Yes, he is.
He's that guy. But we got another one. Like he bust on the scene Saturday. Corey Petty. Mm-hmm. We was in because I called Meeks Showtime Meeks, and the way Petty played, I was like prime time Petty dog, cause like he got it. I mean, then we got some more. We got two good tight ends. We got Kenyon Webb who come in like our wide, like we can stretch you out. We good. We just got to shore up that offensive line.
Yeah,
and we gotta get Bryson back healthy. And yeah, I'll take us. Yeah.
Speaking of DMing you or hitting you up, you know what I'm saying, on Twitter. This Kentucky State Allen game.
Okay.
that was funny, you know. So give people the background on that.
So, you know, we had Coach Keaton on the show. Coach Keaton told us that, you know, where he was planning and when he got some DBs. I mean, don't get me wrong. David Wright is as advertised. Yeah. People ask me, is Kevin Durham the best quarterback in the conference? I said he got the award. Can't take that away from him. He can sling the ball. I mean, if you watch the Tuskegee game, he beat us for a 76-yard pass with 40 seconds left in the game. He did the same thing to Edward Waters on like a 60-some yard. When the boy wants to spin it, he can spin it. Okay, and he did that to us. He's a sophomore this year. Okay, so the boy is good. David Wright is as advertised. I was wondering, could they keep David Wright upright? So they won the first game. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Then, you know, people start telling me, oh, Allen is 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, and you should. And I was like, look, Jasher is my guy. Okay, I hate it when he left Tuskegee. Jasher is my guy. Coach Keaton is a winner. You look at what he was able to do with that Stillman program, like hands down. You know that he's a winner. He has winners on that staff. Okay, he has LC Cole on that staff. Now, whatever the circumstances around LC Cole, whatever, but we know wherever LC Cole has been, LC Cole has won. So it's like, okay, cool. He's there. He's surrounding himself. But when they asked me, I got kind of caught off because people was like, okay, well, why aren't you saying this about Allen? I was like, because I don't know, dog. Like, I don't know. So I said, well, here's their opportunity. Now I got to ride with Kentucky State because I've seen Kentucky State. Okay. Mm-hmm. I saw a little bit of Allen, but they played Columbus State. That's a club. Like, okay, you know, I can't garner anything from that. Like, I couldn't pull any information from that. But because I would like to see, you know, I mean, I like Jasher, I like Coach Keaton, so that's why I said on HBCU game day, I'm like, if I have to eat my words, it's one of the times I'll be glad to eat my words. Okay.
Yeah,
and I'm glad I put that part in there, dog, because if I did, they would have been on my head. But I was like, if they beat them, they came up. Now here I am, dog, Saturday. I see the score. It's 30-7.
Yes.
30-7. I'm on the Sayette talk because we did a Saturday recap. I'm on there, I'm talking. I was like, yeah, I told y'all, man. You know, they David Wright is who he is. Probably another year or so. Here we go. One of those Benedict, I can't think of her name. She's a Benedict supporter. She came in. She said, "Hey, like, check your DM." I checked my DM. I'm like, wait a minute. Wait, I know them folk were going in the fourth quarter, 30-7, dog.
Yeah.
Then they send me the final. Okay, let's pull up the game. Let's pull up ESPN Plus because I need to see this for myself.
All right.
And David Wright They got the wide receivers. And Kentucky State had a collapse. And the important thing to note, I think Kentucky State only scored one time on offense against the defense. So let's know Allen is a much improved defensive team. And hey, it is what it is. Congratulations to them. 3-0. Like, that's history for this school. Couldn't be happier for a program that's pouring into the
they're definitely
when they unveiled their practice facility. One thing Coach Keaton told them, boy, we didn't build this to lose. Now he said it, like he said we didn't build this to lose, and so they're having success, and hey. And it's all part of the game, when they were like, look, what we told you, call us D2A. Like, hey, celebrate it. I think that's good for their program. I think it's good for the conference, not to just have two teams. Yeah. So
I love that. I'm gonna tell you, I got a call. I was watching, I think I had like 4 games going. I had like I think it was the Howard game. I think it was like Howard. I forget some who are the other games on. Howard was on, Grambling, and somebody else. 2 more teams. It might have been like, I forget which 2. And I'm texting with Ant back and forth, telling him, hey man, this what happened in this game. Grambling just scored, defense this, what I'm saying, Miles. And I was like, hey, I'm gonna tell you, Howard this, that, oh man, they just can't. I'm telling him this. He said, whoa. So what's going on? He said, hold on, let me check some. He came back and he was like, Allen and Kentucky State is an instant classic. He said they just came back by 23 points, down 23 in the 4th quarter. It's like, man, what? So yeah, that was a game. And then to tune in to see them, but it's good. Allen is another one of those schools, like A&M, where they are really investing, like you talked about, into the program. They put together a task force, or they're putting together a task force to improve game day experience and stuff like that. So it's really it's dope to see that. But yeah, man, that's definitely an instant classic.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yep. So
that's gonna be an interesting one with them next week. They got Central State.
Okay.
Yeah, that one should be fun.
Mm-hmm.
That one should be fun.
Yeah. All right, here we go. I want to recap some of the players of the week from the CIAA, MEAC, and the SWAC. SIAC don't put theirs out until
whenever they get ready.
Thursdays. Yeah. All right, here we go. Let me pull this up. For CIAA, quarterback Steve Williams from Virginia State, offensive back Rashard Jackson from Virginia Union, receiver Quinzel Lockhart from Elizabeth City State, offensive lineman Bruno Onwuzor. I know I messed that up. Y'all forgive me. Virginia State, defensive lineman Kamar Kyle from the Fighting Stephen Gaithers, Winston-Salem State. Linebacker Kamal McMillan from Lincoln, PA. Shout out to G, Coach Huggins. Defensive back, Justin Fleming from Winston-Salem State. Special teams, Matthew Ward from Virginia State, and the rookie was Dalen Lee from Winston-Salem State. All right.
Now, hold on. Before you turn that, I just want to tell these people who come up with the D2 polls that don't watch no D2 football.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how y'all have Virginia State at 5-6-4. Virginia State is as much of a 2 team as any other team that you can put up there. I know a lot of folks want to just stick Virginia Union there. I think that Virginia State should be 2 and D2 polls hand down. Stop playing with them boys and putting them boys 5. Turn on the tape, look at the film, read the stat lines, read the play-by-play. Stop playing on Virginia State sign.
Facts. Next, let's skip. The MEAC. The MEAC. We're gonna talk. Offensive player of the week, Casey Hawthorne from, I thought it was Hawthorne, but they put anyway, from Howard. The defensive player of the week, Kenny Gallup Jr. from Howard. Rookie of the week was Noah Tracy. They don't have his picture at all on the West S. So yeah, they did my man dirty. The only picture I've seen of him was a picture from the side that was blurred when he was punting. So yeah, I don't know if he in witness protection and they just anyway. Offensive lineman Dexter Carr Jr. from Morgan State, and the specialist of the week, Jordan Toles from Morgan State. Jordan, it's back-to-back weeks for him. He was actually the defensive player of the week last week. Shout out to Mr. Carr, Dexter Carr, for making it as well. Morgan State, they've literally had a player on this list every week. Back-to-back defense, then they got the offensive line, and they got the specialist. I keep telling y'all, Morgan State will finish the MEAC number 2. If they get a quarterback, let me rephrase that. If they get quarterback down, if they get that offense going, Morgan State got a chance to upset Central. They got a chance. Because that defense is, I still say the best defense in D1 HBC football at least. So, all right. Next and last, the SWAC players of the week. Quarterback, Mr. Jeremy Musa. I'm sorry. Offensive is Mr. Jeremy Musa. Defense was Mr. Lewis Matthews from Grambling. Specialist was the kicker from Southern University, Joshua Griffin. And the newcomer was wide receiver Tylon Williams from Grambling. So, any surprises there for you?
No, I will say like that third quarter performance.
Any of them, I say any of them. Yeah.
I can't say anything about the MEAC because the MEAC it's one of those conferences that I don't keep up with as much. Yeah. But the SWAC, I watched the West Florida FAMU game, so I can see that. And I watched bits and pieces of a few other games. I watched the Pine Bluff game and I watched the Anthem Southern game. So from those performances, I mean, Musa, some people, I did see a little talk on, Twitter. It was talking about Musa, but he did that against a D2 team. But he did that against a D2 team that probably could run through the majority of the SWAC. So,
I was going to make a Marcus Stokes joke. I'm going to save it.
And you know what? And what's crazy is, and I will say this, I think Marcus Stokes, of course, people didn't want him to go to Albany State. I really have a problem with it because it's business for me. It's business. And with what Albany State want to do, I mean, he's at West Florida, and as you can see, he's not on the field because West Florida got talent. He's like 3rd or 4th on the depth chart. So, it's some teams that really needed him in the SIAC, and I think you should have, if you needed him, you should have got him.
Definitely. Well, man, look, it's getting late. Just want to get ready to wrap up here. Before we go, I gotta give you time to shout out your people and everything. So tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter. Well, let me say X Space. I gotta stop saying Twitter. On X Spaces, D2 HBCU football. That's the only place I really talk about sports. Everything else is geared toward African American history, Tuskegee historian. There, you can
tell them they need to know that too, because obviously they call it Colorado HBCU now.
I have no words for that, dog. But I'm Tuskegee historian on Instagram, TikTok. You can find me on D2 Football Matters on HBCU Game Days. That airs sometimes Wednesdays, sometimes Thursdays. I have the Sayet Talk that's normally on Sundays at 7 Central. And you can also find me on the Golden Tiger Sports Network this Saturday. I'll be broadcasting along with Frank Lee and Ken Woodard, bringing you Golden Tiger football.
All right. Well, man, as always, man, definitely appreciate you being here.
Appreciate you for having me, dog.
Man,
and once again, man, appreciate you praying for me, man. Like that meant a lot. Like checking up on me, doing that, man. I appreciate that.
Hey, no problem. No, and I do be delivering your messages, man. Be telling them, hey, like my boy said, Skiggy by 3.
Oh well, when I showed them HBCU nightly after Miles, man, listen, that clip. First of all, they clipped me that Alabama State shirt. That been eating folks up.
That is hilarious. So for those of you who hadn't seen, he went on a show, and he had a Alabama State shirt with a Miles background. I was like, man, hilarious. But man, nobody give the SWAC more blues than you. Especially when you drop with the numbers. Well, the last time we played you here, I was
like, well, I'll tell you what, the talk finna gear up, you know.
Yeah.
Next week you got Tuskegee and A&M, so the talk finna gear up. You know, it's gonna be a lot of trash talking. That's gonna be trash talking. You know,
I'm trying to get to I'm supposed to be going to the game. I gotta figure this out because my son has Little League, and I'm trying to figure out because Daddy might not be coaching that game. Especially if now if they do what I've been hearing they might be on something, but we'll see. But man, we'll be back on Thursday. Another episode of HBCR previewing the upcoming week. Like that, we out. This show was presented by betonline.ag.
Bring me